Here we are. It's the Intelligent Ignorance Podcast, the Intelligent Ignorance Show, all that good stuff. We are back. It's been a while. It's probably always been a while when we when we do a show, but it's all good. Whatever the case may be, we always got something to talk about, so we're gonna bring it for you. But y'all know how I like to start off every show. Y'all been watching 10-7 and Intelligent Ignorance and Check Swing and all that good stuff, and y'all know how I like to start shows. So R. Dot, how you been, brother?
Man, I can't complain too much. Dealing with technical difficulties on my end over here, but we make it work every time we make it work. This is our first show of 2022, ain't it?
It absolutely is. This is our first show of 2022. So happy New Year, good brother, and happy New Year to anyone
Happy
out
New
there
Year!
celebrating. I think this is the going this going to be the last time I say Happy New Year for the year. It's February 2nd.
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. Black History Month has started. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Russia, Ukraine, the United States, that whole thing from our perspective. And we're also going to talk about the newest NFL lawsuit with Coach Brian Flores. But there's so many things to talk about, so many things to discuss. Before we get into all that, for the next 30 minutes to an hour, we're going to be bringing y'all some things that y'all can think about, you can talk about, you can discuss with us, whatever the case may be. Okay, if you're watching, wherever you're watching from, your phone, your tablet, your computer, whatever, listen, whatever case may be, you can always comment on what we're talking about. And of course, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube right now. Make sure you subscribe. But also, if you wanna comment on anything that we are talking about, you can hit us up at, I'm gonna put the number at the bottom of the screen here, 215-486-0335. That's the text line. That's the New Twist Radio text line, seeking sponsorship. And you can let us know how you feel about some of the things that we are talking about. Starting off the show, let's start off with Black History Month.
I'm with it. Let's talk
Let's
about
start off with Black History Month, just because, just because. And this is just a reminder that Black History Month, or Black history, does not start with slavery. It doesn't begin with slavery, as opposed to what the school system might teach you in our country. Black history does not begin with slavery. Okay. But with that being said, Black history has been around. Black History Month, excuse me, has been around since we've been alive, you and I,
right.
as far as I know. You know what I mean? What this year, 2022, what are you hoping to see or experience for this Black History Month? And on top of that, two-part question: what does Black History Month mean to you?
So I'm gonna start with the back end of the question. Black History Month means to me an exploration of our entire story, not just the inventors, not just the George Washington Carvers, not just the Rosa Parks, not the ones that they choose to put in the book. But we need to honor all of the triumphs, and we need to honor the struggles that we had as Black people in the world. And I think a lot of people, because Black History Month was originated as a United States history thing, we get relegated to the history of America. And that's why you see so much of the talk about Black History Month in the historical aspect of slavery moving forward. Because essentially that's our history of America started with slavery. Now, if you get into history of our roots, which is what it should encompass, and it should encompass all of it, not just once we came across on a boat. And what I want to see, I'll tell you what I don't want to see.
Okay.
I don't want to see these companies pandering to us for the next 28 or 26 now, 26 days, when we can go online and look at their executive staff and not see one African American. We can look and see that they don't have a DEI policy. We can look and see that they aren't making any efforts to really honor anything other than the black dollar, which is the most powerful dollar in America. That's what they respect. Corporately, they want our money. So they truly believe, and I think it was earlier we were talking, uh, and you saw Juneteenth things already starting to pop up because they know in a corporate America setting, they know what makes money. And black people sell because black people spend. So that's what I don't want to see.
It brings me to another question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I know that you want to keep going, but you bring up an interesting point, and I've never heard it explained. I know you're not an economist, okay, but you
Right.
may have an opinion on this. I have an opinion on it. Doesn't mean it's correct, but why is the black dollar the strongest dollar? Why are we the considered the strongest economy in a sense?
So we're considered the strongest because our money doesn't cycle back through our economy. So, in turn, and I don't want to offend anybody because we've seen it in the past where people talk about the Jewish culture. But, just in my travels to Brooklyn, I can see the Jewish community circulates their dollar amongst each other. So their dollar never really changes hands other than their community. They're spending with each other to
Spending
benefit
with
each
each
other.
other first
Right.
before,
Before they
yeah,
step outside.
absolutely.
We historically, because we don't own, we don't, we're not the executive levels, we're not the decision makers. We spend with everybody else. So we give everybody else our money when in turn other cultures circulate their money within each other.
Mm. Now I'm going to do something weird. It looks like your other camera's ready to go. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Bring me on
This is
in.
what I'm gonna do. Check this out. I'm gonna do that there, but I'm gonna take you out there. Oh, nope. We're getting feedback. Hold on. Go ahead. Say what you said.
Bring that one back in and I'll mute Mike too.
Okay.
That better?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That
Now
works.
we're cooking with grease.
That
Cooking with
was partially my theory, my opinion on why the black dollar is the strongest. Because a lot of times, excuse me, a lot of times we go to all the other communities to spend our money,
right.
whereas opposed to other communities spend their money within their community and then outsource their dollar. We kind of
Correct.
outsource our dollar, hoping it
From the
comes
beginning.
back, and it doesn't. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to see. I don't think it was Black History Month last year, but I want to say it was maybe it was the year before, after the George Floyd murder.
Okay.
We saw a uptick in black folks spending their money with black companies and other folks too, not just black folks. Like
Yeah.
the black small businesses were being supported a lot more after the George Floyd thing. I would
Right.
love to see, excuse me, I would love to see black businesses being supported all through Black History Month, even beyond, but especially black. It started today and beyond. And by starting it today, I mean like this. R dot. I want a sweatshirt like this with the New Twist Radio logo on it. After the show today, I'm putting my order in. And that's how I'm going to start supporting a black business right there.
Let's make it happen.
Right there. Because I noticed that I have hoodies, but I don't have just a regular sweatshirt with the thing on it.
True.
You know what
Hoodies,
I mean? This
t-shirts,
one,
you got
this
everything.
sweatshirt,
Everything but the crew neck sweat.
yeah, hey, this sweatshirt came from a black owned company. You can't see it on here anymore, but it came from Canacostia, an urban gardening business in the DC area. So,
Okay.
that's what I try to do. I try to support our folks.
Is it
Um,
is it legit gardening
or is it DC gardening?
I don't know the difference. I
Well,
don't know.
because it was legal in DC, so I was
Oh yeah, I
thinking
know.
cultivation.
Well, you would have to go and ask them to find out. I don't know if you saw this. Terry said I ordered 2 R dot, and
Hey,
Miguel said I have 1 shirt. We need jerseys.
it's
That's a Miguel. That's a Miguel response right there.
Jersey's coming up. We're gonna make it happen.
We
We
gonna make
looking
it
like
happen.
Bad Boy back in '99.
We
New
we
Twitch
appreciate
jersey.
we appreciate y'all. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. But with Black History Month, like I said, I'm about to mess up. With Black History
Uh-oh.
Month coming up, or we're in Black History
In
Month,
Black History Month.
and we would like to see, let me say this because I've heard a lot of different discussions about a lot of different things today, and I'm trying to wrap my head around everything at one time and just say something. Spending money in your own community is not racist, no matter what your community is.
Oh no, not at
It's
all.
not a racist thing. Don't fit like there are some people that will feel uncomfortable spending money in their community because they feel like they're whatever for whatever reason they feel uncomfortable doing it because they feel like they're being racist in a sense that's not spending your money is not racist. I get listen, your $1 bill is worth the same amount all over this country in whatever
Everywhere.
community you spend it in. Okay, be proud of your own people. I don't I don't have a problem with any race being proud of their people. What they're necessarily proud of, we can discuss that on at another time. But I don't get mad at I can't be mad at anybody for being proud of their people. Okay, can't do that. So just go out there and spend the money in the community. Support the dollars that are going to be recycled within your community. Um, Case in point, let's think about this. Your tax dollars, wherever you may live, a portion of your tax dollars goes to support the public schools in your community,
Right.
right? So your money goes to the public schools. The public schools are educating the kids from your community. In turn, those kids from the community are going to be learning things, spending money places, and all like that. And what you would hope for is that comes full circle. The education that is used, the money that is created off of the education, and all like that comes back to your community. It's like leaving to go. Let's take a sports aspect of it for those that understand sports aspect. It's like being in Philadelphia and you're a star basketball player. You get recruited to University of Southern California. You go to Southern California instead of going to Temple. You've taken your talents elsewhere, which is not a problem. Let me put that out. That's not a problem. But you've
It
taken
is
your
a
talent
problem. I
outside of
say
your
it.
city. It's a problem for Temple because they couldn't keep you here. Not a problem for USC. All right. Anyway, that's my rant for today. I'm sure I have a couple more.
Hey, I wanna get something in real quick now, and I know how you feel about plugging product without sponsorship, but I want to say that this is the coolest
Uh-oh.
thing ever, and I had to go for it. But Browndages,
Browndages. Okay.
Browndages. So they have made band-aids in our hues to, nobody wanted to walk around with the pink pale band-aid on. And then I guess it was cool because they started, giving us different little things like Spider-Man and X-Men and the cool stuff for kids, but there was nothing for the adult who didn't want to walk around and look like they were full of cuts, but they wanted something to match their skin tone. So I ain't even going front. I bought boxes. Like
There
I,
you
I
go.
wanted to support. I definitely wanted to support the brand. So Browndages, they are on Instagram. I absolutely love them. I absolutely support them,
Just
and
hope you don't have to use them that much.
that's the key. So as a father, band-aids come in handy. So
As a
yeah,
father, as an athlete, as a coach, band-aids come in handy.
this is
Absolutely.
for me as the athlete. They actually have elastic bandages.
Okay.
So I got the wrap that matches my skin
All set to
tone.
go.
So I don't have to worry about, you know, walking around with that pink bandage on and people are like, hey, are you hurt? It matches your skin tone. It's pretty hard to see without it. Like I absolutely love the brand. I support what they're doing. It's a huge need, whether people see it as that or not.
You want to know something funny about the brown bandages? I have
Yeah.
some here, right?
Okay.
And I had a cut. I had a little cut on my wrist, right? And I had the brown band, and I'm gonna put it on, right? I'm like, all right, cool, brown. But see, this part of my hand and this part of my hand,
Are two different colors.
two different shades of greatness.
See,
And
well, they have five different shades of brown in the
I
box.
saw that. I saw that. So we're going to reach out to them, get a sponsorship and all like that. Because
Look, it's a phone call away. You tell them we already plugged them on the show for free, so now they need to hook us on up.
let me see. Hold on. Miguel says, "Can you send the link to that company? I got 5 paper cuts over the last 2 weeks. I need it in Latino shade."
I got you. We got because it's in the box. I got you.
They got us all covered.
They get
Um,
when you're
I,
brown, they got you covered.
I was talking about us being coaches earlier, um,
Yes.
and something interesting has happened over the last 24 to 36 hours. Brian Flores,
Yeah.
former coach of the Miami Dolphins, has put together a lawsuit against the NFL for, well, a number of things, right? It's not just one
I
kind
was
of
about to
thing.
say where you want to start.
Yeah, it's conduct detrimental to the league. That's what I'll call it. That's what I'll call it. He created a lawsuit for conduct detrimental to the league against the NFL. And since he's filed this lawsuit, another African American coach has come out and basically said he's experienced the same type of treatment. Um, but I'll let you. I'm gonna give you the floor and let you explain because you explained it to me. You did a great job explaining it to me. If you feel up to it, explain it to me again so you can explain it to the folks that's checking us out.
So Brian Flores, man, it's been a roller coaster for that man. He was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and if you follow football, you understand that the Miami Dolphins were not a bad team, but they were
We're supposed
expected to be bad. They they were expected to be bad from the top down. And some of the issues that Brian Flores ran into was because he didn't believe that. And he believed that they had the talent to win, had the individuals put in the work, which they did. And they won games. I think they won 10 games this year, 9 games last year. And I'll get to that, Tara, because I don't believe he destroyed his career, but it's going to appear that he destroyed his career.
yeah, we're
But
definitely going to touch on that.
yeah, so he at this point right now, after he lost the job with Miami, he was labeled as difficult to work with. Uh, if in any environment as a black man, when you're labeled difficult to work with, it's almost impossible to get back into leadership type positions because again his players, he's a man of the people, he's a man of his players, but he's not a man of the front office, and the front office had their issues with him. He's now labeled as hard to work with, but still he was up for consideration for jobs, and now it's looking as he was candidate for those jobs because of the Rooney Rule, which again, if you follow football, you know the Rooney Rule was instituted about 2 decades ago, where it was ensuring that teams at least interviewed a minority candidate for head coaching and offensive coordinator or coordinator positions. They changed it last year, stating that you had to interview at least 2 candidates for
Oh, I
those
didn't know that.
positions.
I
Yeah,
didn't know they changed it.
because when the Rooney Rule was instituted, there were 3 African American coaches, At the end of last season, there were 2 African American head coaches. Now there is one. Mike Tomlin, who obviously in the Steelers organization, he is under the Rooney organization, creators of the Rooney Rule. So it's very fitting that the lone black coach in football is in Pittsburgh. But at this point, with
Successful.
the successful coach, hadn't had a losing season in his career.
Right.
But now with the lawsuit stems from a text message that he got from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick sent a text message to the wrong Brian. He meant to text Brian Dable. Instead, he texts Brian Flores, congratulating him on getting the head coaching job with the New York Giants. To his confusion, he said, "Hey, coach, are you texting, the right Brian or Dable or Flores?" Belichick said, "Hey, I effed this up. I got it wrong. They're going with Dable. My apologies." Brian Flores had a job interview with the Giants scheduled 2 days later. So
2 days after getting the text message.
2 days after getting the text message. So before his interview, he already knows he doesn't have the job by a means of somebody who's not even in that organization. So you find out from somebody else that you didn't get the job and that they're giving the job to somebody else, but you're still expected to interview for this job, which he did go through with the interview process. He said that he still went on with the interview because he felt like he was still looking for the good in people and hoping that his interview was going to put him in a better light as to where it was going to qualify him to get this job, knowing already that it's already been told through other channels that somebody else has the job. So obviously, once the announcement came out that he didn't get the job, that it went to Brian Dable, now we're in a very precarious situation where it appears that he was interviewed just as the formality to check off a box because they have to interview these candidates per the Rooney Rule.
Now, I'm one that believes that I said it to you yesterday. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles are a team that is guilty of, I'll call it manipulating the Rooney Rule. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I call it manipulating because really what it is, it's checking the box, like you just said.
Right.
2 head coaches ago, or Chip Kelly. When Chip Kelly was the when he was fired, then the Eagles started interviewing. One of the first candidates they interviewed was Deuce Staley, black man, former Eagle, former Steeler, Super Bowl champion, and he didn't get the job, obviously. And then when Doug Peterson was fired, the first interview the Eagles had was with Deuce Staley again. And Deuce Staley is very well respected in this city, in this community.
Oh, yeah.
And for him to get the treatment that he did, I mean, I've sat at the poker table with Deuce Staley in the casino before. Very well respected guy. For him to get the treatment that he did, I mean, it was obvious. It was painfully obvious to me and to most people. He was given those. Now, I tweeted a message to a sports guy, and he said that wasn't the case because there was another candidate interviewed. But now that you say what you just said,
they have to interview 2.
There's got to be 2. That makes more sense to me now. I don't even know who the other candidate was. But we have somebody
but that says a lot to you.
New Philly Girl said, I experienced that. Interviewing after the candidate was already hired. It's BS. It's BS. And when we were talking yesterday, I gave you a personal experience that I had of being contacted for a job as a formality.
Right.
I didn't feel like it was a race thing, but it was definitely a formality because once I got off the phone with this guy, no. Right as I'm getting ready to get off the phone with this guy, he says to me, Okay, now I've called you. You can tell such and such that I called you about this job. Oh, okay. Thanks.
And
Like
and you remember, so, and I think I brought up the point and I said I don't think that there is a person of color that can't point out a situation where they were denied opportunity solely based on the color of their skin. I believe that it's practically happened to every single one of
it's
us.
probably happened to a lot of people and they didn't even know it.
Well, and that's the thing. So
That's a hard.
Brian Flores was saying that had it not been for Bill Belichick's error, he never would have known.
Right.
He never would have known
Right.
that Brian Dable was already selected. So it came out as an error. And I think there's so many situations where you never know. And I thought another interesting fact came up that the New York Football Giants have never had an African American coach.
I'm not. They can't be the only team though.
I believe they are. I think that
Are you
the
talking about
stats said
African American head coach
head
or
coach,
okay?
African American head coach. They are. I think it said they were one of two teams in the NFL that never had an African American head coach.
I believe the Eagles only have one.
The Eagles had one.
Probably most teams have probably only had one.
I
There's
think
some
most of
teams that
them.
may have had more than one, but probably most teams have only had one.
Yeah.
And the one the Eagles had, Ray Rhodes, he was a great defensive coordinator. He didn't have the greatest career as a head coach. He had what Eagles, Packers. I
But
think
he
that was
got the opportunity.
he got
And
the opportunity.
so a lot of the conversation now is how do we fix it? How do we fix it? How do we because the reality is, and what a lot of people have talked about is the NFL, Roger Goodell, first off, is the league commissioner. He has no real power to influence who owners hire. So those 32 owners are his boss. He can't do anything to change this situation. So the lawsuit against the NFL is encompassing of the 32 owners. It's not a Roger Goodell thing. I know that people are going to hit him up and he's going to be the pincushion for a little while, but he's not really the target. The target is ownership. Now, there are 32 teams in the NFL. There are 31 white owners. The only owner of color is Shad Khan in Jacksonville, and he's a moron. So,
He's a Mormon.
moron,
Oh,
moron.
Mormon. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
we've
thought that's
seen
what
how
you said, but I just wanted to make sure you didn't say
we've
Mormon.
seen how he's handled things down in Jacksonville with the Urban Meyer situation, dismantling his team, getting rid of Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette, getting rid of players who were good, so your team is not really good. And that started, the leadership there was horrible. They brought down Tom Coughlin from the Giants, who was an absolute tragedy. They haven't put themselves in a position to be successful for a very long time, but that's neither here nor there. So there are 32 owners in the league. None of them are black. The statistic that I saw said 72% of players in the league are African Americans. Out of 32 head coaches, there's only one African American head coach. So you're putting people in position to be led by people that don't look
Hold
or
on.
think like them.
Hold on real quick. Let me take that your statistic a step further.
Yeah.
One African American head coach in the NFL. I believe there's only 4 teams that have African American coordinators on the staff. 4 out of 32.
No, it's got to be way more than that.
That's a stat I saw today.
Because I can think of 4 off the top of my head.
I'm not saying 4 coordinators in the whole league. I'm saying 4 teams have black coordinators.
But that's what I'm saying. I can think of more than 4 teams right off the top of my head.
Who you got?
Ken Norton in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Deuce Staley in Detroit.
Is he a coordinator?
He's the running backs coach and
It's not a
assistant
court.
head coach.
It's not a
He's the
coordinator.
assistant. He's the assistant head coach.
Not a coordinator.
That's relatively the same thing.
Assistant head coach has no power.
Assistant head coach has no power. Byron Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich. He's the offensive coordinator.
Defensive coordinators. I'm trying to think of who the other.
You got you said Deuce. Well, you said you got Tampa Bay has the Eagles have one. Seattle. No, I'm trying to think. No, is he a coordinator? He may not be a coordinator. He might. I'm trying to think who the offensive coordinator is for the Eagles. He might be a receivers coach. I don't remember. Anyway, this is a statistic I heard today, actually, that there's like 4 teams. One team has a head coach. There's like 4 teams with coordinators. And the list gets thinner and thinner. But I was watching or listening to a radio show today, and there was a call that said, I know how to fix the problem. I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny. But his answer was, get rid of the Rooney Rule. And the host of the show was like, well, how does that help the problem? And like, he just didn't have an answer like that. But one of the other people, and if there's people that listen to this radio station, you would have heard this today. He broke it down in a way that I thought was great. He said, take a look at yourself and be honest with yourself. He said, think about your closest circle of friends. He said the majority of people with their closest circle of friends, majority, but not everybody, but majority of people, closest circle of friends are people that look like them. Okay. Now you have these people in the NFL, like these owners, most of the people in their circles look like them. They now have to hire people to run their organization, and their comfort level is with people that look like them because that's what they're used to. They have to take it upon themselves to become uncomfortable with going outside of their comfort, their circle, to become comfortable with people that they may not keep having their circle. Okay, does that make sense? I was trying to get to the point without going too long. Basically, like, think about your circle. Think about the people that look like you in your closest circle. Most of those people probably look like you. And that doesn't make you a racist person. That just makes you human. But when you run a business, you have to look outside of your circle. I'll take it to sports again. One of the worst franchises in sports this year are the Philadelphia Flyers. They're terrible. And for years and years and years, the Philadelphia Flyers have only hired people that have been part of the Philadelphia Flyer organization. For years, decades. All right, decades. And now, since they haven't reached out, what have they done? They've created a terrible season. They're terrible. They're terrible. I don't even follow hockey, but I know they're terrible. They won 2 in a row, but they lost like 25 in a row before that. But anyway, how do we fix the issue? I personally don't know how to fix the issue. You've got to come out of your comfort level, out of your comfort zone. And maybe these people don't want to give people a chance. You understand what I'm saying? But the mindset has got to go. There's one black coach, one African-American coach in the NFL right now. And he's a successful coach. The problem is us as black folks have to be successful, have to be overly successful to be considered for other positions. Now, let me say I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to go to Tara's point.
Let me introduce one thing real quick about what you were saying. Think back to 5 weeks ago when the Steelers were in last place, and this was potentially going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season, and people were calling for his job. They were saying that this should be the end of the line for Mike Tomlin after one sub 500 season. And
I'm
he
not
didn't finish
surprised about
under
that.
500.
I'm not surprised about that, but I'm gonna tell you why. Only because he's been around for a while. I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying only because he's been around for a while. I'm not surprised about that. Um, if he had been the first year head coach and they were saying that, and it's like, damn. But to go to what I was saying, our people, we have to be overly successful to get another opportunity. Like Mike Tomlin said, let's say the Steelers let him go, he'll probably have another job the next day, right? They're not about to get rid of him, but if they did, he would probably have another job the next day. Hugh
Oh,
Jackson, the coach for Grambling State University right now, but he
yes.
was a coach of the Browns. He coached the Raiders. He's also part of this lawsuit in a way, but he was given money for losing, or he was also offered money to lose. He probably won't coach again in the NFL.
So I don't know if you caught any of that.
Flores probably. I'm sorry, just to Terrace. Flores probably won't coach again in the NFL. I think unless it's like years from now and everybody is turned the other cheek. I don't think Flores coaches again in the NFL. I think Flores should go to HBCU route, honestly. Bring a team to the Eastern Shore of Maryland. There's a school down there that needs a team.
So I found a stat, and it says that just in the divisional round of the playoff alone, there were 8 black coordinators: Keith Armstrong, Eric Bieniemy, Todd Bowles, Maurice Drayton, Leslie Frazier, Richard Hightower, Byron Leftwich, Raheem Morris, and D'Amico Ryans. So
and these are offensive and defensive coordinators?
Yes. So that's between.
So that's 14. That's 14.
That's 5 teams just in the playoffs.
But you said this weekend the divisional round was only 4 teams playing.
Buccaneers, Chiefs, Packers, Bills.
So you're talking about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, divisional round, not
divisional. Okay, not championship. Right. Sorry. Okay.
Right. So 5 out of 8 teams in the divisional round had black coordinators.
Okay. And
then we still didn't count the Eagles. So there's more than 4 teams. We know that much.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected. Maybe I heard the stat wrong.
It's not you. We may have to go correct whoever it was. Let's see if we can find them. It wasn't just that.
But do you feel like, to Tara's question, did he destroy his career, Brian Flores?
His NFL career, I believe so. His coaching career, obviously not. We just saw like you just introduced, Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson is a college coach. He decided to go to Grambling State. He had other opportunities. He was never going to get another NFL opportunity again because he was a cumulative 1-31. And for him to, yes, Hugh Jackson. So
1-31 and getting offered money to lose games
and getting incentive to lose. So that's just absolutely crazy. But again, will there be and like Brian Flores said, coaching is his passion. So I can guarantee there's going to be opportunities for him to coach again. It may not be in the NFL. A lot of people are forgetting the USFL starts in 2 months. So that is another league that needs coaches. They are going to be a professional level football. It's not going to be immediate, but it's going to be a professional level of football.
I want to talk about that, but not today. Okay, because the reason that my mind is always turning about shows in the future. The reason is I was in a conversation probably last week, 2 weeks ago, about the NBA versus the WNBA and why the WNBA is not as successful, although it's still basketball.
Right.
I'm not going to get into the details of that. We can talk about that another time. The USFL obviously won't be as successful as the NFL.
Of course, still not immediate.
Still football, but when you don't have the best of the best playing, it's very difficult unless you are just one of those people. Like I'm one of the people I can watch any level of basketball be played and enjoy it. Football, excuse me, football for me, not so much.
But it's all about what organization folds into what at some point. So remember, we had an AFL and an NFL. They were two
We did.
separate entities.
We
And
did,
at some point
and
they
don't
said,
forget one of them didn't survive. They had to be ingested,
well,
merged. merged.
they merged in. So it wasn't that the AFL couldn't survive because the AFL had superior, I won't say they were superior talent, but teams from the AFL were coming and beating teams from the NFL. So it wasn't a situation where there was a lesser product. It was more about the money that was behind it. Financing is always
Yeah,
going to
and that's like the NBA and the ABA. I think that
right,
was like back then the NFL and the AFL level playing field.
right.
ABA and NBA probably let a better level playing field. From stories I've heard, the ABA had a better product because they were more exciting. They were a more exciting league, more of a run and gun type league than the NBA was.
So
Um,
I have a
I
fix.
can't
I
see
have
a
a
world
fix.
where the USFL or the XFL, which is also supposed to be coming back, would be a would see a better numbers than the NFL. I just don't see it. But that's
I
when
have
we can talk about that later. I don't want to get into that now. We got a couple more things we want to touch on before we get out of here.
so
Um,
I have a fix for all of it.
okay.
And this is going to lead us well into another show. The Negro League. Let's put together our own product. Let's build
Well,
our
Ice Cube has
own.
started has started that trend.
Exactly. So we know that it can be a successful thing, especially when we are the product. So statistically, of major North American sports, and I won't even go that far. Basketball, we're what? Roughly 80% of basketball. We're at least 70% of football. We are 9% of baseball. Hockey, we're 1%. But if we start our own and we maintain our own, our players are the best, regardless of how many players we have. And I think you and I had this conversation. African Americans in baseball are 9%. But when you look at the historical rankings of baseball, we own most of the statistical categories.
Mm, mm.
So our minimal number sh- shows that they wanted to keep us out of the game because we were better than everybody else.
There you go. There you have it. And I'm all for it. You know me. You've known me for 20 years.
20 years. 20 years this
I'm
year.
all for
20
us
years.
owning our own. Hence New Twist Radio. Hence Teas
Blue
with
Blue.
Attitude. Hence Block Suite. I'm not even gonna keep on going down the line. I'm just saying.
Therapeutic billing.
Therapeutic Billing. There you go, right there. There you go, right there. Shout out to Therapeutic Billing. I don't have the advertisement ready, but shout out to let's move on because it's not a sports show. There is a sports show coming on later on tonight, 9 o'clock. Y'all
Make
can
sure
check
y'all
out
stay tuned.
Check Swing Podcast. With Miguel will be on there with us too as well tonight. So definitely check that out. But we want to talk about real quick. I want to talk about
No, rephrase that. I will be on as a guest with you and Miguel, the stars of the Check Swing podcast.
that's
I'm just
exactly what I said in my head.
I'm just there to, provide a little razzle dazzle.
You're you're just there as the pot sweetener, as they
Hey,
say in
that's
the
it.
poker world. You're the pot sweetener. I do want to move on though because I'm going to get into some other matters that I've noticed. Okay, over the last few weeks, actually since I want to say before the new year, we have been hearing about this Russian invasion of Ukraine, and that's what we've been hearing. Russia's going to invade Ukraine. Russia's going to invade Ukraine. United States is looking to not let that happen. United States is looking to get their troops over to Eastern Europe and blah blah blah. Russia is got their equipment over in Belarus and they're ready to. But one thing that I've noticed, and if anybody is watching right now, please, if your experience is different, please let me know because I want to discuss it. You can either text me or text us at 486-0335, or of course you can leave a comment on there. And if you're on Facebook right now, or YouTube, or whatever you might be watching on, hit the like button. Hit the like button for us. Appreciate it. It really
Hit
helps.
that like.
Um, we've been told all this stuff that Russia's going to invade, but we've not been told why Russia's going to invade. Are we not supposed to care why Russia's invading? Am I really supposed to care that Russia's invading? Period. Like, really, am I supposed to care? But we've never been told why. I don't know. Maybe Ukraine went over to Russia and stole all the newborn babies, and now they want to. And I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened. They just know that they the way they tell the story is Russia's being a bully and wants to invade Ukraine. Arda, speak to that. Can you? I mean, tell me something.
So I gotta lead in on this one just a little bit because it's some serious business, and I think people, you know me as a former military member, I completely understand that war 99% of times is about money. And so right now, the issue between Russia and the Ukraine, at least from what I've gathered, is that the Russian government fears that Ukraine's membership in the European Union and NATO would complete a Western wall of allied countries restricting Russia's access to the Black Sea. Now, if Russia no longer has access to the Black Sea, where are they going to, how are they going to move product and people? So Black Sea access is huge for Russia because obviously they're landlocked. They're in between Europe, Ukraine.
They could just go over to the Bering Sea.
I mean, there's ways around things, but it would severely impact portions of Russia's economy. I want to say, and I
so what you're saying is, in a sense, Russia's trying to protect their own.
Oh yeah. It's purely about Russia protecting themselves. So back in, and I can't remember timelines, but I know it was the early '90s when it was still the Soviet Union. So when all of that dissipated, Ukraine.
Yo, real quick, I'm sorry. I don't mean that. This the ignorant me. You remember the '92 Olympics when Russia was the unified team?
Yes.
You remember that? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Go ahead. I'm sorry. United States might be the unified team in the Winter Olympics.
So, you know what? Now that you bring that up, it was around that point in time. I want to say it was 91, 92. It was around that time where the Soviet Union,
they were the unified team because
fell apart.
Right. That's why because they had to go as one for those Olympics.
Right. And then so that's the connection that made me understand that it was around that time frame. I knew it was early 90s in there somewhere. But once the Soviet Union dissolved, Ukraine becomes its own operative state. Russia is then formed, and they're no longer one, even though I believe Russian is one of the major, if not primary, languages in Ukraine. So it's not that they're so far off where they're just so very distant. Russia truly wants Ukraine to not become a part of NATO. They want to stop Ukraine from becoming involved with NATO and the European Union because they feel like, or they're assuming that it's going to cut off their access to the Black Sea. Could be right, could be wrong. Why the United States chooses to get involved? Because we're bullies. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. We feel we're the world police and we have to get involved in everything. But honestly, we know what Russia is capable of. And if they start flexing on these small countries, it is going to show what they can do to some bigger countries. And as much as nobody wants to see it could potentially lead to global war. It could lead to another world war.
It'll be World
I,
War
I
One.
hate to say it like that because I don't want to strike fear in people, and I don't want to make it seem like we're some conspiracy theorists projecting the next world war.
No,
But
but it's if you think about it,
we know where it could potentially lead.
because if you think about now, I am a part-time fake historian, right? I enjoy history, right? I just like the stories. And I never claimed to actually know the exact story of the history. But when we had the other world wars, not all the countries that were the main players in these world wars were in it from the beginning. Think
Right.
about that. Like we weren't in World War II until it was World War II, correct? Help me out. We were not in World War II until Japan dropped the bomb on um,
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. Thank you. Uh, I was so mad I couldn't remember that. Um, and because also with this situation, now they're talking about China,
Right.
not China getting involved, right? And there's some tension with us and China, tension with us and Russia. I mean, it is what that's what it's kind of going towards. But this, of course, is
Right.
not the first time that we've been in a situation where this is kind of going. The whole war on terror could have been considered a world war, you know. Um,
Right.
it's just it just is what it is. Now that world war title has a stigma to it of travesty, devastation, and all, especially for people that weren't around for it, only learned about it in history books.
Which
But
is majority of us.
a lot of the wars these days are world war. A bunch of countries are involved and stuff like that. Real quick before we move on, two comments. Thomas Goose Turner, Goose from 10-7 Show. He says Putin wants to reunite the Soviet Union. Ukraine has a lot of resources.
That
Speaking
they
to what
do.
you were speaking to, he also says that the Black Sea access can be used as a sanction.
Correct.
So, see, I'm glad I got you guys around me because I told you what I read from Reuters, because a lot of times I read Reuters and Al Jazeera and stuff like that because they're not necessarily governed by the United States government. So you get more of the story.
Right.
But yeah, the only thing I read was something about the eastern Ukraine wanted to be a part of the European Union. Western Ukraine was more so on the Russian side, and all like that. But I don't want to get in too much into it because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Hold on,
Nah, I feel
hold
you
on.
on
I'm gonna
that.
put this up here because this one's funny too. Hold on. He said my big thumbs messing up all my posts. That's a funny one right there. Shout out to Goose. Shout out to Goose and Tara from the 10-7 Show. Check out the 10-7 Show Sundays at 7 o'clock p.m. right here on the New Twist Radio YouTube
Check
channel.
it
Check out the Facebook page. Join the 10-7 group in Facebook and all that good stuff. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up today. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. I
I
don't
think
have
it
the
was
thing in
the
front of me.
best show in television, Abbott Elementary. Was that it? Were we going to talk about Abbott Elementary today?
You want to talk about Abbott Element? I like that show.
Absolutely love Abbott Elementary.
Her name is Quinta Brunson, right?
Yes.
I've been a fan. I didn't even know I was a fan of Quinta Brunson, but I've been a fan of Quinta Brunson for a long time. And the reason I said I can remember, she had a series on YouTube called
Yes.
Broke.
Yep.
Now most people know about the Black Girl Sketch Show and
Mhm.
some of the other things. She had a series called Broke on YouTube that I was watching a few years back, actually maybe like a year or two before the pandemic. I was watching it on YouTube. Funny little series. Um, Not something that you would probably like watch on FX or BT or something like that, but it was a funny series for what it was. It was about three friends, her and two guys that lived in this apartment, and they were trying to basically live their life. They're trying to.
Survive.
They were like out of college or something. They didn't have no money, no job. They're doing like odd job, pretty good. But I'm so proud of her going from the BuzzFeed YouTube route, and now she's on a nationally recognized network. She's on the Mickey Mouse Network. She's on ABC with her show Abbott Elementary. From Philadelphia, her mother was a school teacher here in Philadelphia, and that's kind of where the story comes from with Abbott Elementary. I think it was 2 weeks ago when they started the show, when she was teaching them Hoagie, Old Head,
John,
Old John, all like that, and that was a great scene. But that the topper on that scene for me was when the lady left out the classroom
these balls.
and the old head. I said, here I go, the old head. The janitor was on the ladder. Was like, man, these young boys disrespectful. I said, oh, this is awesome, man. I mean, anytime you could fit some Philly slang in something, Philly people gonna love it.
Yo,
Let's be honest.
I absolutely love the show, man. I guess
I really
you know,
do.
I became a fan, and I'm sure a lot of people became a fan of Quinta B after he got money. Like that was the one that kind of kicked her off to different audiences.
Mhm.
But I absolutely love, and then hearing the backstory about the name Willard Abbott Elementary.
Give me the Abbott part. I was trying to figure
So
out what's the Abbott part.
the Abbott was her sixth grade teacher, Miss Abbott. So
Oh, okay,
and
okay,
so they actually had Quinta B on the Jimmy Kimmel show last night, and they brought on Miss Abbott. And Quinta hadn't seen her since sixth grade, so it was absolutely amazing. If you get a chance, go check that clip out. It was
if you had that
heartwarming.
show, if you
Yeah,
had that show, like the Willard is Will Smith, right?
correct.
If you had that show and you had to name the school and the way that she named it after two people, I guess she looks up to, who would you name it after? I'm talking about celebrity. Well, one celebrity, one non-celebrity.
So if I had to go a celebrity and then like a teacher influence, um, I would. So
Tough question. I'm gonna put you on the spot. I put you on the spot.
celebrity, like that's kind of hard. The
That's a
celebrity
tough
I
one.
would have to, I would say Sean, and obviously everybody knows I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, so
Okay.
that would be the first name. And then the last name of the school would be my biggest impact from a school standpoint, Mr. Portlock. He was my seventh grade science teacher. He was the first and only African American male teacher that I ever had.
Mm,
And that man took a huge interest in me as a person. He got me involved with a engineering program called Fame when I was in seventh grade. And it really set me on a different path because we weren't considered to even think about engineering as something being young and black at that point, and then getting into these programs where it was nothing but young black engineers, and it opened me up to so many different avenues. uh, I was in the program through high school. Absolutely amazing program. And when I moved to Atlanta, I actually met someone who graduated from the same program as me in Delaware, uh, but they graduated prior to me getting there. And
okay.
just to see the reach across the United States from this one program that I never would have been involved in without my seventh grade teacher, Mr. Portlock.
Awesome.
So now you got to answer the same question. I put you on the spot, and you had time to think about it.
I did have time to think about it. I was thinking about it the whole time, right? So so the celebrity I would that's the tough part. There are two teachers that I would use. Um but the celebrity is tough. Like I was thinking like Denzel Washington, because you know why the celebrity is tough? Because had it not been for Bill Cosby's situation, I'd have said Bill Cosby. Or it would have been Huxtable or something. You know what I
We
mean?
should have talked. We should have talked about the first episode. Did you watch
We
the
can talk
rest of?
about that. We can talk about that next time. Trust me.
Yes.
We can talk about that
Yeah.
next time. So I'll do the teachers, the two teachers, right? But I'll try to figure out a celebrity. So the two teachers are, one would be my third grade teacher, Miss Pettis, right? She was a black woman. And the only reason I would say Miss Pettis, because I was thinking about it today, it's funny. The only reason I would say Miss Pettis is because that was the only teacher in my entire career of learning that I was
Mhm.
afraid of. The only teacher I was afraid of, and she struck fear in the majority of students in that school. I lied to you not, Miss Pettis. If you ever see this, I love you, Miss Pettis, but we were all afraid of you. Let me tell you what Miss Pettis did one time, because me and my boys will still talk about Miss Pettis to this day.
Wow.
Here's a story that we talk about all the time. I was in the fifth grade. She was my third grade teacher. I was in the fifth grade. Okay. And it was around this time of year. It was like a Martin Luther King Black History Month thing, right? It was an assembly, the entire school. Each class had a person go up to read something in front of the celebrity. And I'm one of these people in my class that has to read it, right? So they go with the youngins first and work their way up. My school was from K to 6. People reading their thing, reading their thing, reading their thing, right?
Right.
And it was all about Martin Luther King. So maybe it's his birthday. Anyway, right before I get up to do my thing, right? So mind you, first grade went, second grade went, third grade went, fourth grade went. Right before I get up to do my thing, Miss Pettis stops the entire assembly. No, I think the entire school was scared of Miss Pettis. All right. She got up and stopped the entire assembly. The entire assembly. Got on the microphone and started fussing at everybody in the thing and said, "You guys are being disrespectful." She said, basically, I'm gonna make this story short. Basically, everybody was saying Dr. Martin, either saying Martin Luther King or Dr. Martin Luther King, right?
Right.
She told us we were being disrespectful. The proper way to refer to him, and you've probably heard me say this, the proper way to refer to Dr. King is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.,
I've
right?
heard you say it, and I didn't know this backstory, but I
Yeah,
have
that's why
heard
I
you
say
say
it, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. That's the reason why I say. Now, mind you, on my paper, I don't have Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on my paper. So every time I came to that, it was blah 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 blah. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Blah 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 blah, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther. Listen, because she wasn't gonna fuss me out. She was not gonna fuss me out, man. Miss Pettis was. She listen to this day. I say that because Miss Pettis fussed out an entire assembly school worth of kids. So that's
Wow.
one teacher I would use. The other teacher comes from high school, my 11th grade year. Mr. Rotundo. He was an English teacher. And Mr. Rotundo,
He
I was a
sounds fat.
new student at the school. Huh?
So he sounds fat.
No, he wasn't
Rotund-
fat at all.
Rotund.
It sounds like, but he wasn't fat at all. Actually, I think going into the class, I thought he was going to be a fat person. Anyway, we had to every day in class. It's some type of English class. We had to write some type of story every day when we got into class, and then we would read it in front of class sometime. He was the guy that taught me how to think outside the box, how to because the general process of thought may be this, and this doesn't mean it can't be this, that, and this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he was the one that opened me up to thinking about things in a different way, not necessarily just following the crowd, not necessarily just doing these things because that's the way it's done. Shake things up. He's the one that told me to shake things up, right? He was the one. Now, mind you, this is a white man, and Dick Gregory wrote a book, and the book is entitled "Nigger."
Yes.
And I was reading this book, and he knew I was reading this book. Now we went to class one day, and our class went to the library one day. We're on the computers, newer days of the internet. We on the computers, blah blah blah. But I had my book, and I turned it over. Matter of fact, hold on, I still have the book. Actually, hold on, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Give me one. Let me go to my library. Hold on. Boom. Here's the book. There it is. I've had this
Hey,
book
borrow
since
it.
high school.
I need to borrow that.
I'll let you borrow it. It might fall apart on you, but
Oh, never mind. Nope. You keep that.
I've had this book. I think I'm missing some pages too. I've had this book since high school. All right. Now we're in class, and I put the book face down like that, so people walking by don't see that.
Right.
Mr. Rotundo comes up to me, knowing I'm reading this book. Right. He don't have a problem with me reading this book.
Flip it
Knowing
over.
I'm reading this book, he stays right next to me. Okay. And he's looking down at the book. Now he knows what the book is. He's looking down and then he looks at me. Mr. Rotundo goes, "Why you got that book turned over?" And now me, I know why I got the book turned over, but I didn't want to say it, right? I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just put it down like that." "No, you didn't." He said, "You put it down there like that on purpose, didn't you?" I said, "No, I just sat down and put it in." "No, you didn't." He said, "Turn that book over." He turned it over. He said, "You make these people uncomfortable." He said, "This is a word that's been used all over, blah." He broke it down. He was like, "So what if you make them uncomfortable?" He said, the word is out there. He said, "Let them be uncomfortable." He said, "You ain't out here doing anything." He said, "Let them be uncomfortable and let them deal with it." I said, "Damn, Mr. Rotundo a G." I said, "All right, cool." I started walking around with my book like this. Like, "Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Y'all want to see this?" So shout out to
Keep
Mr. Rotundo. I hope he's still around. That was my guy. It's my favorite teacher at Westchester East. Miss Pettis was in elementary school. My favorite teacher at Penwood was Miss Calvin. Miss Calvin. She knows she was my favorite teacher. I saw her yesterday. Well, shout out to her. But so it'll be Rotundo and it'll be Pettis. I don't know. I think the celebrity would be like I would say Russell. Oh, I know what the celebrity would be. And I don't know if you consider her a celebrity. I consider her a celebrity. It would be Kathy Hughes. Kathy Hughes she started Radio One.
I was gonna say she is a celebrity in a different right.
Right. She's a media maven.
Right.
Yeah. She started TV One, or she started a company that became TV One, Media One, Radio One, and all like that. She was one of the initial innovators of her and Tony Brown of the Quiet Storm. Yes, Quiet Storm. Yes,
One of the best.
the Quiet Storm. Rest in peace, Tony Brown, and her husband. If you are familiar with the movie Talk to Me with Don Cheadle, the character Huey was her husband. Dewey, excuse me, the character Dewey Hughes was her husband at the time. So definitely check that out. So it would be Kathy R. Pettis Elementary School. That's what it would be. Kathy Hughes, Mr. Rotundo, and Miss Pettis.
I like it. I like it. It's hard to believe we ran through an hour and some change that fast.
That fast.
But you know what? That's a product that we haven't been here in a little while. We had a lot to talk
about. But we already got some stuff lined up for the next show. So
for the next show.
Actually, and R. Dot and I will be on with Miguel later on tonight, so y'all can check us out at 9:00 tonight. We'll be talking about some sports stuff.
So we'll be right back. We'll
be right back at it like we never left. Matter of fact, what time is it? So it's a little after 7:30 now, so we got an hour and a half.
Yeah, let's just keep this show going until that show starts.
We'll just invite Miguel in.
Yeah, we can keep it going. It's just a big show. No, I got some things to do.
Yeah, and it's getting hot, and I got this heat on. I got this sweatshirt. It's getting hot in here. I'm starting to sweat.
I gotta call Cam.
Oh yeah, you better call Cam.
It's almost bedtime.
Tell Super Cam I said what's up, even though he don't like being called Super Cam.
I was better say, don't give him no prefix. He don't play that.
Well, look, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get out of here. We appreciate y'all for checking us out. Make sure y'all hit that like button. It's very important that y'all hit that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, continue the conversation, keep the conversation going on social media, whatever the case may be. But all in all, we appreciate y'all for being here with us. We're gonna get up out of here. And like I said, we'll be right back here in just a couple hours on the Check Swing podcast.
Don't you click me off. Don't you click me off without my final thought tonight.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
All right, I just say I seen stuff coming off the screen.
I'm getting ready.
You about to shut me down. Hold on. So final thought, and just to kick off Black History Month and get people in the right frame of mind. Racism is not a touchy subject if you're not a racist.
Say it again.
Don't forget it. Do not forget it. Racism is not a touchy subject if you are not a racist.
Boom. I don't need to say anything after that.
Invite the discussions. Have them. It's Black History Month. Have fun with it.
Absolutely.
And make somebody uncomfortable.
Make them uncomfortable. Make them uncomfortable. Time for us to get out of here. We appreciate y'all. And we'll be talking to y'all next time. Stay tuned for more from New Twist Radio, Check Swing Podcast, Intelligent Ignorance, 10-7, all that good stuff. We'll talk to y'all next time. We out of here. Peace.